Hello, my name is Jean Webb. I'm a longtime climate activist, and I'd like to thank you for attending tonight to learn more about the past, present, and future of non-utility-owned solar in Centerpoint territory of southwestern Indiana. Critical to any discussion on rooftop solar is the term net metering. Net metering is a one-to-one swap of kilowatt hour produced or used between the solar owner and Centerpoint. Credits for excess generation per month are rolled to the next month. On the screen is my most recent electric bill. My system produced 15 kilowatt hour more than what I used during the month. The prior month's balance is the total extra electricity I've produced since initiating net metering 6 years ago. Also important to note on the bill is the $11 service charge, but a $15 electric charge. The bill doesn't explain the extra $4. You have these charges on your bill too, but it's less apparent on typical bills. These unitemized charges are referred to as trackers. They are allowed by your state legislators for various utility pass-through expenses. When your bills keep rising, yet you are told rates have not gone up, this is what's happening to you: more trackers. Now we will review a bit of history of net metering in southwestern Indiana. It began in March of 2005 when the IURC, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, allowed schools and residential owners to net meter systems up to 10 kilowatts. Then the next year, the federal government helped out with the solar investment tax credit. Then it got even better in July of 2011 when Governor Mitch Daniels signed an executive order to expand net metering to all customer classes for systems up to 1 megawatt. Now, Vectren was threatened. Now, rooftop solar was affordable for more people, so they stopped cooperating with solar installers. In 2013, Evansville-based Morton Solar filed a complaint against them and won. Next, the Indiana Investor-Owned Utilities, IOUs, banded together to fight this threat to their profits. In 2015, they pushed a bill that attacked customer-owned solar, but it was met with heavy opposition by constituents and was withdrawn. So keeping with our timeline, this article, published in August of 2015, explains the IOU response to customers. They don't view rooftop solar as a resource. They view it like an efficient refrigerator. The customer is using less electricity. Their IRPs, their 20-year plans, don't include the generation from solar of rooftop, customer-owned rooftop. The utility business model seems broken. Investor-owned utilities make money by selling electricity and building infrastructure. Customer-owned solar is a competitor, reducing both income streams. It seems easier to fight than innovate. Rather than adjusting their business models, there is a coordinated effort by utility executives to wage legislative battles against their solar customers. They use their monopoly power over the grid to maintain an archaic electric system. The electricity system is fundamentally changing. Technology allows electric generation on rooftops and farm fields. We are moving away from a one-way top-down grid to a massively networked and democratized energy delivery marketplace. Utilities won't willingly change. Regulators must push. Electric utilities use enormous power to resist. IOUs have huge streams of monopoly-shielded revenue to hire lobbyists and lawyers to dominate state legislators and utility commissions. In this timeline, I went solar. January 2017, state legislators send out constituent questionnaires with the misinformation for net metering, claiming that it's subsidized by other ratepayers. Here's Wendy McNamara's question number 7. Currently, those with rooftop solar panels and other residential ratepayers with interconnected sources of renewable energy effectively receive a subsidy at the expense of other ratepayers. Would you support a net metering policy that continues to allow these renewable sources of generation while removing the subsidy? Misinformation is repeated in newspapers and by utilities and legislators. The Courier Press and most other reporters repeated the statements without challenge, despite studies in Minnesota, Maine, Missouri, and other states showing this subsidy claim to be untrue. It worked. May 2017, net metering will be phased out. April 2018, the Indy Star reports Indiana politicians got thousands in gifts while pushing solar policy. December 2020, solar investment tax credit is extended. This year, April 2021, CenterPoint ends net metering for new customers. They reached the 1.5% cap. So they won't even be going as far as July 2022, which the other IOUs will be doing. The new excess distributed generation tariff, or the EDG tariff, is approved by the Holcomb appointed IURC. It involves instantaneous readings rather than netting. It credits inflows at retail cost 16 cents, or rather it charges inflows at 16 cents. And it pays outflows at 2.772 cents. There is still a 1 megawatt cap on system sizes. October 2021, the Indy Star reports CenterPoint gifted $1 million to fund a position in Governor Holcomb's administration. Highly unusual funding. Currently, appeals are pending at the Indiana Supreme Court over the CenterPoint EDG tariff to make it less bad than owners. Solarize Indiana, the OUCC, which is the Office of Utility Consumer Council, Citizens Action Coalition, Environmental Law and Policy, Solar United Neighbors, Vote Solar, and Indiana Distributed Generation Alliance, all are fighting these policies. Protecting utility profits is killing us. When utilities lobby against policies, it's because they reduce usage or prevent building new generation. Conversely, these same programs mean savings for ratepayers and faster action against the climate crisis. These policies are advocated by utilities because they will increase their profits. Conversely, they will cost ratepayers more and will delay action against the climate crisis. I'll let you take a look at these and I'll answer any questions you may have. Okay, Senator Merritt calls anything that is not pro-fossil fuel vision casting, but I'm going to call it vision casting, and this is the future I'd like for us to all share.
Oh, high wind warning. Oh, I guess it's getting pretty bad out there.
No, I was in the middle of that show.
I'm more concerned about the animals. I may need to go help Pa with the generator. You know, this wouldn't happen so often if we just made our own energy here.
What do you mean make our own energy?
I'm talking about distributed renewable energy. But hold on. Before we get into that, do you understand where our electricity comes from now?
Kind of. Actually, maybe not.
That's okay. For a long time, I didn't either. Right now, most Americans depend on large-scale centralized energy generation. Big power plants are located far away from consumers, so the electricity generated there has to travel through a network of high-voltage power lines, and then go through a substation before it reaches our farm. But there are some real problems with this type of system. For one, centralized generation means a small number of utility companies hold a lot of power, literally, but also economically and politically. These utilities control every aspect of production, from how our electricity is generated to how it's distributed and sold. Often, these companies prioritize profits over people, and they spend a lot of those profits lobbying our government. Last year, electric utilities spent over $100 million on lobbying alone. They watered down clean energy initiatives, create loopholes to protect their profit margins, and push legislation that limits our ability to achieve energy independence. The result is soaring utility costs, not to mention an electric grid that relies heavily on fossil fuels. In fact, in 2020, a majority of our electricity was generated by gas and coal.
Oh, yeah. Like that fracking project the next town over.
Exactly. But that's not the only problem. Severe weather is the leading cause of major power outages across the United States. Thanks to climate change, we're seeing stronger, more frequent storms and more extreme weather across the country. The baseline for normal weather patterns is changing, but it's not just impacting the energy sector. As farmers, unpredictable weather patterns like extreme heat, drought, and flooding make our jobs even harder. Remember when our farm flooded?
So climate change is why our crops keep getting ruined. I hope that doesn't happen tonight.
And it's not just us. The whole industry is struggling. Farm and ranch families are facing a mass extinction in the US. More than half of all farmers have lost money every year since 2013, and farm debt is higher than ever. But I've been doing some research, and I think what I found can solve a lot of our problems. Remember how I said we could make our own energy?
Go on.
I was talking about distributed renewable energy, like wind and solar. If we transition some of our farm to producing our own energy, we can sell that energy as a cash crop, just like we sell our corn and soybeans. These resources can be harvested forever, providing us with a long-term, reliable source of income. Plus, we can provide clean, local power for our whole community.
So do all farmers need to start harvesting energy?
We should at least consider it. Farmers are perfectly positioned to transform the energy sector, but we're not the only ones who can get involved. Community centers, places of worship, and residential rooftops are also great locations to install solar panels or wind turbines. If we join together as a community, we can invest in distributed energy that complements our business and generates clean power for everyone. No more relying on the big power plant. We can generate and store our energy locally. And we're on the right track. To date, 16 states have implemented policies that encourage growth of distributed renewable energy. We can ask our representatives to implement those policies here too.
Pop quiz time. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory has found that nearly 40% of electricity in the United States could come from rooftop solar photovoltaics, according to a new study. The total figure, 1,118 gigawatts, is nearly double the previous estimate of 664 gigawatts that the NREL calculated in 2008. So here's your question. Why don't utilities encourage rooftop solar and count it as generation? Answer? Yep, it's E. So can we get to that future with the CenterPoint EDG? No. The 2.772 cent per kilowatt compensation rate should not be tied to the LMP at Veteran South's load node. That node is not the same as wholesale in other markets. Indiana IOUs are vertically integrated, and so it is the residual energy of other IOU customers, often selling for less than it costs to produce. This can happen because of must-run situations to use up coal contracts. The price is artificially low due to subsidy from ratepayers at other IOUs. It costs CenterPoint nothing to transfer kilowatt hours from solar homes to their neighbors. There is no cost shift due to solar panels. Testimony, October 12th, 2021 at the task force. Quote from Peter Schubert, director of the Lugar Center for Renewable Energy. Under low penetration of solar, and he gave the example of 1 in 7 households, excess energy moving to the next house does not use the grid. CenterPoint makes an obscene profit from customer-owned panels. The 2.772 cent compensation, then cost-free retail rate at 16 cents results in a 477% markup. Under these conditions, investments into customer-owned solar are unlikely. So what do we need to do? We need to advocate for these solar policies, restore net metering with a much higher cap, such as 15% of peak load, and also with larger system sizes. Only after we get about 15% of peak load do we need to look at doing a value of solar studying and determining a different method of compensating solar owners. Allow virtual net metering for community solar and other policies so that the benefits of solar are accessible to more people. This way, low-income people and people who live in apartments or rent homes can also benefit from solar. Ensure local ordinances do not discriminate against solar property rights. Questions? Thank you so much.